Hey guys. Hope you're all having a great week. Starting to get a bit nervous now. Let me know what you think of the ins. I know it's been a big week for the club. You know, a lot of positivity after the win last week, and then we've had a bit of adversity that we've had to deal with, you know. A couple of players for different reasons can't play after playing very big games for us last week and getting us over the line. And then the other, we'll talk about it, Benny Long and the AFL tribunal, that whole mess, that whole process has effed up the club big time, and the inconsistency is beyond belief. You know, especially when you look at previous examples of cases where a player's actually been knocked out and they get off. And a couple of them are Richmond players. You know, Marlon Pickett's the most recent one, and then obviously Trent Cotchin in the 2017 Prelim final, knocking out a GWS player and getting off. So it is what it is. I actually kind of like the way this is kind of eventuated, the way that the week's gone. It's more, you know, backs against the wall sort of stuff, and no one's expecting us to do anything tomorrow. You know, our odds are like $3.70. Going and reading a lot of the Richmond supporters, reading their boards and hearing what they're saying about us, it's as if the game's already done. You know, they're already talking about Port Adelaide in the prelim final. You know, they're already, thinking that they're a chance of making a grand final again after their poor performance the other night, you know? So they've got their own problems to deal with. We'll talk about ours, but first we'll go through the ins. I'll give my spiel on the game, obviously, and then we'll get into some questions. Or comments, just whatever you're thinking, post it and we'll talk about it, all right? So let's get into the ins. So for us, the ins, Jonathan Marsh, Josh Battle, Shane Savage. Those are the three ins, and I'll talk a little bit later about why I actually think they might be okay. I was skeptical at first, but the more I think about it, the more I like what Rats is doing. And then the outs for us, obviously we all know, Ben Long suspension, 1 week for striking or striking. Jake Carlisle's gone home. I'm not sure when his third child's being born, but it's, you know, imminent, so any time now. So congrats to him if it's happened, and good luck when it does. And then obviously Paddy Ryder doing his hamstring in literally the last couple of minutes last week after putting in what was close to a best on ground performance. So to see him come down, he's the hardest one to take, is because he was so good last week, and it was his first finals victory in his career, and he did everything for us. And he's, you know, it feels like Paddy Ryder's been a Saint for a long time, you know, but it's less than a year that he's been a Saint. And to see him come off and be in tears at the final siren, you know, kills you a little bit. But if anything, I hope all three players here, they all have different stories as to why they're not playing. And I hope that you know, that pride and that feeling goes through the whole team and pumps them up to really do well tomorrow. And that's what I think is our approach. I think that we love that no one's giving us a chance. And I've said this a million times this season, we play better as underdogs. We play better when no one expects anything. You know, make no mistake, all the pressure is on Richmond. All the pressure to perform is on Richmond, to bounce back, to make a prelim, to make a grand final, you know, to prove to everyone that, you know, their form in the last game against Brisbane, you know, was a blip on the radar. And everyone's just blaming, you know, they're real disciplined. They gave away some silly free kicks. You watch the game back, and I don't know how many of you watched Brisbane play Richmond last week in the qualifying final on the Friday night, but Brisbane were all over them. You know, no matter how, you know, undisciplined Richmond were, Brisbane should have been miles ahead. They missed easy shots. They were all over them with speed and with ground ball pressure. And that's where I think we can get Richmond tomorrow. So the weather for the Gold Coast is supposed to be pretty wet early on. It's going to be raining probably the first half of the game, which works for us. That's why I actually don't mind that we've gone with players like John O'Marsh, you know, obviously with Savage, and then obviously Josh Battle. 3 players that are pretty versatile. You know, Marsh can play anywhere. He's listed literally in the back pocket, but you don't know where he's going to play. I think he's probably going to play both. It would not surprise me if he plays on someone at times. He could match up on someone like Tom Lynch and just cause problems there. And, you know, when you swing by and look at what, you know, Damien Hardwick's probably thinking, he's like, what? Jono Marsh, you know, we thought that they probably thought something else was going to happen, but now they don't know, is Jono Marsh going to play forward? Is he going to play back? Is Josh Battle going to pinch hit in the ruck and help row? Is he going to play forward? Is he going to play back? Because he could easily take someone like a Jack Riewoldt. You know, there's no reason why Josh Battle can't do that. And same with Jono Marsh. They've got the height, they've got the versatility, and then you've got someone that gives his all every time he plays in Shane Savage, and he is a pretty straight swap for Ben Long. You know, Ben Long's been in great form all season, but, you know, Shane Savage is experienced. He's been there, he's done that, and I think it's essentially a straight swap, and I'm not too worried about that. Ben Long's probably the easiest one to replace. It's Carlisle and Ryder, obviously, but when you look at Richmond, they've brought in Broad and they've brought in Lynch. They've dropped Arts and they've dropped Scholl, and Scholl's a big one because I think he's actually been pretty good for them in recent weeks. So now it puts more pressure on Lynch to perform coming back, and on Jack Riewoldt. So I think, you know, like I said, the pressure's on Richmond. I think our game plan will just be get the ball to ground, play it lightning fast. I saw a comment on Instagram just before I came on here, and it was, you know, play with one speed, Saints, fast. That's literally the speed we're going with. We beat them with speed in round 4 this year. We beat them comfortably by 5 goals. Paddy Ryder didn't play that day, so people forget that, but Paddy Ryder didn't play, and they've only got really Toby Nankervis in the ruck. They don't have, you know, the flexibility of having another good ruckman. I think Rowan Marshall has proven that he can take on the responsibility of going one out with another rucker and beating them. So if anything, this could show the best of Rowe. You know, we've seen bits and pieces of Rowe, but, you know, the majority of the ruck work's been Paddy Ryder, and rightly so. He's been incredible at it, but that takes 50% of the workload off Rowe. So now that he's got 100%, I can see him tearing this one apart. You know, he could be the big difference in the game for us. And our midfield last week, Jack Steele, Zach Jones, they were down on their usual selves. You know, they were good, but they weren't the match winners. They can improve this week. You know, the fact that they're playing on Dusty Martin, and, you know, I'll talk about it, but I think Seb Ross might get the go there. I think Seb Ross has been doing a very good job of just being disciplined and playing on the opposition's best mid and making them accountable. And I think Dusty Martin, when he's in the middle, that's who he goes to. When Dusty goes forward, I think someone like Cal Wilkie could go to them and take him. And, you know, there was an interesting stat I read during the week that Cal Wilkie's played on Dusty for an hour or so over 2 games when he's gone forward, and he's conceded no goals. So that's a big confidence booster for someone like Cal Wilkie. And then you've got other players like Nick Caulfield that can cut in, take some intercept marks. And with no Carlisle, that's going to be as important as ever. It's going to be all about, you know, when Caulfield times his jumps, you know, he needs to know to get close to Lynch, but not so close that Lynch gets on top of him. You know, you want to come in from the side. You want to take those kind of across the pack sort of third man up marks. And he's been doing most of that all season. So I think this is just a little bit, you know, of a step up, but we know that he's capable of it. You know, Hunter Clark, again, just needs to do what he does. We just need to do what we've been doing for 2 weeks. You know, the way we played against GWS was fantastic. The second and third quarters in particular against the Dogs was our best football for the year. We need to follow that up tomorrow night. And, yeah, I feel like if we get a bit of a run on, we get a bit of confidence, we get into the Richmond players' faces, and that's one thing that Brisbane did. They showed them, you know, we're not afraid of you. We're not here to just make up the numbers. We're not here to just let you run along and win. You know, we're here to actually cause some problems. And I think if we get into the game, you know, if we're in the second and third term and we're in front or we're right there and we're getting on their nerves a little bit, I think there's a big chance that we go hard in that last quarter and we could do something crazy. Richmond will want the game done before 3/4 time, that's for sure. But if we're around or in front, you know, it's going to be hard to catch us because I think we can finish pretty strongly with the team we've got. We've got a lot of leg speed. I think Richmond bringing in Tom Lynch, you know, I haven't read any report to say that he's 100% fit, but I think it's similar to Josh Battle in that, you know, they're close enough, so that's good enough to play. So from my end, I think this team is capable of winning. Max King, on someone like Dylan Grimes, I think we can isolate. You know, Grimes is great, but I think he prefers to to be part of a defensive two sort of structure where he can give someone else a chop out, or he can man a guy when someone else comes in for a chop out. And that someone could be like a Asprey or a Vlostone or someone like that. But if we isolate them, we get them over the back, and we've got players like Butler, we've got Kent, we've got Sinclair. Battle's pretty fast. Membry found some great form last week. I think our forward line is in good form and dangerous enough to kick a winning score. So I'm going into this, and I'm not going to say super confident, but I'm pretty excited. I think that, if anything, I feel like we're almost a stronger chance now with the adversity and with some of these key players being out, because it kind of encourages everyone to step up. Everyone needs to do something out of the ordinary for us to get the win. Caulfield might have to take more intercept marks than usual. You might see John O'Marsh on Tom Lynch or Jack Rewalt. There's going to be so many mismatches, I think, in this game that might actually suit us. I think on paper, we're the flexible team here. If it starts pissing down, we can take it to them. If it's dry, I think in the air, we've got them covered as well. So if we can, keep Toby Nankervis pretty quiet in the middle, negate Dustin Martin, mainly when he goes forward. I don't mind when he gets the ball in the midfield, but it's when he goes forward that he can be his most dangerous. And then obviously, if we can get to halftime and Tom Lynch and Jack Rewalt haven't really gotten on top at any stage, then I think we can start believing. So a lot is going to rely on our defense. I back the forward line when the ball gets there to kick a score. It's just whether we can rebound it enough and fast enough to break their sort of defensive zone, because they're just going to want to pepper the goals. They're going to want to be very aggressive after last week especially. They want to prove that they're still such a good team, but I want us to prove that we're an up-and-coming team and we can take it to one of the best teams in the comp, against the odds. So if we pull this off, it's going to be Brett Rudden's crazy coaching that wins it. And hopefully this time, or a bit later this time tomorrow, we'll be talking about, shit, can't believe John O'Marsh kicked 3 and won us the match. You want to talk about stuff like that. Dan Butler a couple of weeks ago spoke to the team and he said, well, there's going to be players that miss, there's going to be players that just don't get a chance, but whoever gets a chance, someone like John O'Marsh, someone like Shane Savage that haven't played more than 5-6 games all season, you're going to have to make a name for yourself. And these are the two blokes that I think come in that can be a big difference. And obviously Josh Battle can do something as well. He's capable of kicking 2 goals in the forward line. He's also capable of playing on a tall in defence. So I think we've gone in with versatility and speed as opposed to just structure and height. And I like that. And I think that's the main reason why Robbo's probably missed. And I know some people were disappointed there, but he hasn't played since round 1. I think we've gone with the safer, more flexible option, and I back that. So I'm pretty happy with that. So that's my spiel, guys. I'm pretty confident. I'm not going crazy. I know I posted some crazy posts during the week saying that we're a big chance, but yeah, I'm just proud of where we're at, and I think that no matter what, the boys are going to give it a big shake. So let's go through some of these comments. I'm going to scroll all the way to the top. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. There's over 200, 300 of you tuning in, so that's great. For a Thursday night, let's go to the top. Like the ins, that's from Jason. Hi Jakey, that's from Giselle. Claire says, where is Robbo? I just answered that, Claire, so I think that it's probably just, he hasn't had the match fitness, he hasn't had the continuity, he hasn't played since round 1. And this is, put him in round 1 straight into the deep end against Tom Lynch and Jack Rewalt. I think that's a bit harsh. I think Marsh and Battle are probably the smarter options. They can play forward and back, and then Savage covers Ben Long pretty easily. So I like what we've gone with there. But yeah, it would have been great to see Robbo at some point this season, It's a bit disappointing. Sharon says, up the mighty Saints. G'day Godfather, that's from Luke. G'day Luke. A, that's from Raphael. Connor says, hey Jakey, long scrubbed out is a bloody joke. I know, don't get me started. We'll probably vent about it next week in the podcast, no doubt. Shit decision. If that was Trent Cotchin again, if that was any notable Richmond or Collingwood player, they'd get off. And the fact that, Gleeson, that knobhead, was going at, his one argument for the whole thing was just, the potential to cause injury. A millimetre to the left or right, and maybe Matt McRae could have been out for the game. But that's irrelevant. The fact is, you got to go on its merits. You got to go on the facts. And the AFL didn't actually make a decision on facts. They made a decision on hypotheticals and what could have happened. And you could say that about any tackle. You know, any tackle could cause serious injury, but it doesn't. So based on the stupid logic they use to get rid of Ben Long, they're saying that every tackle is reportable, and you could just send, you know, you'd need 100 players on your list to get through a season, you know, and that's, you know, they've set a very bad precedent. Now that anytime someone that has, you know, bumped a guy accidentally goes to the tribunal, he automatically needs to get a week. You know, if he comes off it and cops a fine, then we're going to fume because Ben Long didn't, so why should they, you know? So good comment there. Jay says, a good red hot crack is all we can ask. Let's go Saners. What else we got? Hope we fucking win. That's from Dylan. Go Saints. That's from Clem. Luke says, hopefully Roma can dominate Nankervis this game. Last time Nank arguably took the 3 votes. Yeah, that's a good point. Joyce and Marshy raised that, but then I counted and said, okay, Nank had 26 hitouts. Rowan Marshall had 25. Marshall kicked 2 goals. Nank kicked 1. And then Nank had 17 disposals to Marshall's 15. So, you know, he did probably get the 3 votes, but Marshall was still very good for a ruckman. Those stats, 2 goals, 25 hitouts, 15 disposals, you know, 5 score involvements, 6 inside 50s, all those numbers were high. He just needs to negate Nankervis a bit more. So he can still get those numbers. We just need Nank to just have less influence on the game. Because if we can do that, then, you know, Cochin and Bolton and Martin, you know, and Prestia, Edwards, these guys don't get into the game as much as they usually would. Ian said would have swapped Kent for Hind, but other than that, the ins are as expected. Kent set up two direct goals, I'm pretty sure, last week. So, you know, he's had his haters all year, but I think he does some really nice things. And he's a good ball user, you know. He's actually not a bad kick. And he's got some, you know, some turn of foot. He's got some speed, you know. Hind's got explosive speed, but you look at last week, and I think he took on Bontempelli, and Bont couldn't keep up with him, you know. I know Bont's not the fastest player, but the fact that Kent's backing himself to take on plays like that means he identifies, well, I've got a bit of speed here and I'm going to use it against certain players, and that's great. So, you know, I would not be surprised if he bobs up for a couple of goals tomorrow. So I'm happy that he's still in, but yeah, Hind would have been good as well. Chaos is nervous, but feel like we've overachieved this year, so we can play with nothing to lose. Richmond will come out strong and won't be easy, but all the pressure is on them. Exactly. 2 factors here as to why I think we can win. And the third, okay, so the first is Brett Ratton. The other 2, the fact we have nothing to lose. That alone shits teams like Richmond. The fact that they're playing a team that knows that they've exceeded expectation already and they just need to go there and just give it everything, whereas Richmond are panicking, probably worried, well, we've got more to lose and we're expected to probably make at least a prelim this year and then a grand final. The pressure's on them, so us nothing to lose, them with the pressure. And I think, you know, Brett Ratton hasn't lost to Damien Hardwick. He's versed him as a coach 7 times, and he is 7-0. So hopefully that record continues. He clearly has it over him. It was early days with Carlton, and Richmond were pretty poor back then, but, you know, that surely would have some sort of a say, and I think, you know, Rats we can trust. You know, he's done some great things for the club all season in terms of his coaching, and the last 2 weeks against GWS and the Dogs, he's nailed the changes, he's nailed the game plan both times, and the players have executed. So if he does that again tomorrow and the players execute it and we're on from the start and our pressure's high, you know, give us a huge chance. Adam says it's been an enjoyable week, basking in last week's win. They can't take that off us. Exactly. You know, no matter what, you know, bearing a 100-point loss, we're not going to lose. We're not going to get flogged. I have a feeling that's definitely not going to happen if we lose. But bearing a loss anyway, it's been an incredible season. You know, this is only chapter 1 of a big novel of what this club can do. And the exciting thing about the off-season is we're going to have a chance to rest. Hopefully we can go back to games next season. Our youngsters are going to get better that have had a year under their belt. They've played 2 finals. Max King in his first actual season of playing has played 2 finals. Hunter Clark the same. These sort of players that have only, you know, started their career in less than 50 games have already played 2 finals and have already won a final in a tense type game. You know, that's experience that you can't teach anywhere else. You just need to experience it. And then hopefully with trade season, we can get some, you know, some big names as well. And that will, you know, add to the excitement and to the expectation for next year. James has said, Brad Hill and co running fast on the outside and win the ground ball they cover will worry the Tigers. Great comment there. It's all, players like Zach Jones and Brad Hill caused them massive problems last time. And, they're going to give them a bit of a worry. Because I think that Richmond, people think that they're a fast team. They're not a fast team. They like to move the ball fast. But I think if we get leg speed behind our fast movement, I can't see them catching us. I can't see them being able to get back in time because they're such an aggressive team when they defend. Their defense likes to move up, And if that means, if we can get some quick rebounds, players like Grimes are going to be out of position. Players like Bolter, Asprey, Baker, Vlosten, Hawley's been in poor form. He's not the player he used to be. And if we can isolate Grimes, like I said with King, I think there's a big chance that, either King takes the mark, he's got the height, or it comes to ground and you've got players like Kenton Butler and Loney doing the job around him. So, there's three smalls there that can do the job, and Membry, Marshall push forward, Battle can play forward, Marsh can play forward. We've got enough talls and smalls. It's a great mix. So I think that Rats has absolutely nailed the team. So full confidence there. Jack says, do you reckon Max King could go into the ruck? That's not a bad shout. That's actually a good comment, Jack. I've heard whispers of that. Max King, when we've been forward and he's had to take the forward ruck role, he's either won a free kick, he got a free kick last week, or he's been great at actually getting a tap out. They can't match him for height. He just puts up his mitts and he just pushes it out to space. And 9 times out of 10, you'd back Max King to win the hit out in the forward line. I wonder how he'd go, in the centre bounces. But you don't want to, he's coming off injury last season. You don't want to throw your big forward prospect into the ruck straight away. I think we can risk other players before we risk Max King. But definitely forward of the ball. Love to see Max King take more of the ruck because he's been very effective there. Stuart says, I want someone to make Cochin eat grass a few times. That is a dream I've had most of this week, is Jack Steele or Seb Russell, just anyone. Just getting Trent Cochin when he thinks he's in the clear, when he thinks he's about to kick the ball and it's setting up an attack, someone from behind just out of nowhere just KOs him, just takes him out, That would be something to get the excitement up. And that sort of stuff pumps up the team as well. Anyone that lays a big tackle on Dusty or punches the ball out of bounds on, a certain mark to Tom Lynch, those sort of little wins create confidence and just get everything going. And last week I had so many moments like that. There was a part where I think it was Norton had a certain mark in the first quarter, and Sinclair, out of all people, came from nowhere and actually caused, the turnover. And we actually rebounded and scored from that. People forget, and that's Jack Sinclair, someone that's beaten for height, not a defender, and he's still put his body on the line, actually spoiled, the Bulldogs, the opposition's best forward. So that's more of the selfless sort of acts that we need to expect for tomorrow night. Kerry says, I hope to see King in more of a half-forward role like he was last week. He's so strong when he's not being double-teamed. Great comment. I'd love to see him push up the ground and leave a lot of space in behind for Butler and Kent and Loney. Play the ground ball. Do exactly what Brisbane did. You look at what the Bulldogs did even a couple of weeks ago. The Bulldogs played a ground ball and it worked. Or whoever they played. Richmond will want to be aggressive, and I think they're going to want to kick it high. They want to take marks, and we had 21 contested marks last week to the Bulldogs 13. Most of them were Paddy Ryder, Carlisle, King, even Caulfield and Dougal Howard, but I think we've got enough tools that we can still break even in that department if the ball's really in the air a lot of the time. Mark says Marshall will dominate and give us first use of the ball. Saints will be too quick and too slick and win. Geez, I'd love that. That would be a dream. We're a win. This is a chance to make a prelim. Every time I remind myself that's what it is, I freak out because it feels like only a year ago or 2 years ago we were going through rebuild after rebuild and talking about, geez, who's our next coach going to be and when are we going to get good players? And now all of a sudden we have a good coach, we have good players, and we have a chance of actually making a prelim final. Fagan's had a better list for a long time, and I found out someone, messaged me on Instagram today and said that was actually Fagan's first finals win last week, and so was Rats. And Rats has been there 3 or 4 seasons less than Fagan. So when you look at it like that, our progression's been much faster than what we could have expected and what other coaches have been capable of. So you can only imagine where Ratton could take us in a year or two. Great signs. That's from Sharon. What else we got? Michael says Ratton has never lost a hard week, even when he was at Carlton. Yep. 7-0. Let's hope that it turns into 8-0. That would be fantastic. Jade says, Ben Long isn't playing, we won't win. I don't think Ben Long's the main factor as to why we won't win or not. Obviously, having him in the team would have been great and would have been a big help on some of their small forwards, like Rioli and Edwards that plays forward as well, and Castagna, these sort of guys. But, I back players like Ben Patton, Nick Caulfield can do a job. Geary can go back. He played defensive forward last week, but I think he can go back. And then you've obviously got Savage that's come in and is going to do that job as well. So we've got players in each part of the ground that I think works for us, and we generally match up pretty well against Richmond. So I don't think there's any key matchup there that you're like, shit, they could exploit that. If there's mismatches, yes, they can exploit that. But I think if Wilkie's on Martin, you've got Dougal Howard on Lynch, and then someone like Battle or even Marsh on a Rewalt or vice versa with Lynch, then I think that's fine. As long as we don't give them easy ball inside 50 and we can clog up the midfield and get them rushing the kicks inside 50, then we can get some easy turnovers and some quick goals. Glenn says it's Richmond's to lose. The pressure is on them. Get in their heads. Great point. They looked mentally fragile against Brisbane. I hope that we have that same mentality and we know to go for not only their body, but also their mind. Marcus says, Jake, who do you reckon Geary goes to, defensive forward or lockdown in defence? At the start of the week, I would have said defensive forward on either someone like Short, who's been in phenomenal form all season, or Hooley, but Hooley's not damaging enough, and Short, I don't know if you can keep up with him, and I don't think it's necessary, so I think we need more experience now that we've lost Carlisle and Long. I think potentially he's going to go back and play on someone like a Rioli or even Castagna. I think he could take a Castagna pretty comfortably. He's not fast, and he's done it before, so I'd back him there. But in general, I think, again, we've got flexibility with someone even like Jaron Geary that can go defensive forward and actually take some contested marks and kick goals. He kicked 2 last week, or go back and actually stop an opposition forward from kicking goals. So Ratton's he's played it very smart. He's got probably 5 or 6 different scenarios in his mind on how the game can go, whether it's a fast game or a slow game, congested, open, these sort of scenarios. And I think he's kind of he's picked plays based on how he can, create the team in that scenario. So, full faith in that. Sharon says, if we are with them at halftime, we can do it. Yeah, Richmond are going to come out guns blazing. They've lost the qualifying final. They know that if they lose this, their season's done. And they're coming up against a team that's got a bit of positivity, a bit of vibe about it. We're missing some players, but it doesn't matter. Once every so often a team just does something crazy special, and you think of teams gone by with the Bulldogs, even Richmond a couple of years ago. These teams that come from nowhere to win premierships and against the odds, and at some point you just imagine, whether it's now or in 10, 20, 30 years, that you look back and you're like, that's in Kilda team, I can't believe they won that flag. You want to be sitting at a party and just bring up that topic of like, remember that Saints team in 2020 when it was COVID, and remember that prelim or that semi-final where we were missing these players and we still beat Richmond and then won the flag? You want to be talking about that stuff. Obviously, I'm getting ahead of myself, but the general odds are at some point your team will get the rub of the green in a final, in a grand final, and it will turn around. It's been longer than most teams for Saints fans and for us as a club, but at some point it will turn, and it's looking that way now. The fact that we challenged Ben Long to get him off so hard. We didn't take no for an answer with the AFL, whereas years gone by, we would have just taken it and moved on. We actually stood up for our player, and we actually went to the AFL and said, you're wrong, let him play. And it didn't work out, but the fact that the club's grown some balls, the club's formidable now in a way. Its admin is strong, the players are strong, the coaches are strong, supporters are strong. This is as good as we've been in a long time across the board. Admin, players, supporters, and I say that every week, but it's true. It rings true. Anastasia says, play hard, boys, hard and fast. All odds are against us. Let's use this to our advantage. Come on, boys. Red, white, and black. Love that. Yeah, this is the first game, I think, in a while where, I've gone in thinking, okay, if we win, this is going to be ridiculously amazing, and the night's going to go on and on and on. Champagne's going to be flying around, going to get drunk and all that. But if we lose, and it's a close game and it's a good game, and we see progress, it's still going to feel like maybe it won't feel like a win. I'll still be a bit upset, but you'll still be like, this club's capable of something next year. The fact that we're looking forward already to next year and what we can do, and we're still in a final series this year, shows the progress we've made as a club. We're not just like, all right, well, if this season's done crap, now we have to do it all again. It's more like, the second this season's done, I'm going to be, pumped to get it started again for 2021 and to see what we can do back at Marvel in front of a home crowd, hopefully. Kara says, love your insight. You're making some great points. Let's trust in Rat. A breath of fresh air compared to some of the other Saints pages. Yeah, there's a lot of negativity in some of the other groups. I'm not going to name channels and whatnot, but the second Carlisle was out, the second Paddy Ryder was out, and then Ben Long, I'm getting DMs on Instagram and messages on Facebook from people saying, fuck, now we're stuck, we can't win. I'm like, there's still 19 players from last week that played incredibly well to get us the win in the final for the first time in 9 years that are playing tomorrow. And the players that are coming in are players that want to make a difference. This isn't a round 2 game where you can kind of be a bit relaxed about it. This is a final. They know that they have big responsibility. They've got big shoes to fill in Paddy Ryder, in Carlisle, in Ben Long. And no doubt Rats has psyched them up, pulled them aside and said, this is your moment. This is your chance to do something special. We've got other stars, Jack Steele, Butler, King, Member. We've got stars that can do it. But in finals, it's always the bottom 5 players that get you the win. In a grand final especially, it's the bottom 5 that can get you the win. And I dare say our bottom 5 is better than Richmond's bottom 5 in this game. I think that if our bottom 5 stand up, that goes a long way to us winning this game. More so than how our top 5 go. If Marsh plays a good game, Battle fills his role, Savage keeps the forward quiet, if these sort of players, Sinclair does what he does, if these players do their roles, there's a big chance that something special could happen. Stevens wish Robertson played, but side looks good. Yep, side either way looks good, with Robbo or without. So that shows the depth that we've got. Brodie has always got Howard that can play forward as well. Yeah, again, you forget Howard can play forward. He hates it. That's why he left Port. He didn't want to play forward. They wanted to play him forward, and he said, "No, I'm out. I want to go somewhere I can play full back." I doubt we're going to take Dougal Howard out of a back line that needs to man up on Jack Rilt and Tom Lynch. But if there's a minute to go and we're going inside 50 and we need a goal or a point, throw Dougal Howard forward and see what he can do, and no doubt he could do something. Jordan Rowan, don't need a break. He's a beast. Yep, Rowan Marshall is primed. This is the game. This is Rowan Marshall's big game in his career. It's a final, and he's on his own in the ruck. These are, 2 things that are going to be new to him for a while. He's been used to having Paddy Ryder there, but he was great last season when he was on his own. And for a couple of games this year, we thought that maybe with Paddy Ryder it wasn't going to work because Rowe wasn't getting enough attention, he wasn't getting enough of the ball, and that was going to stunt his growth as a player. But now, in a final, when it matters, against a ruckman that he can beat, and he matches up on very well, and he can beat him around the ground, this is his moment to really stake a claim that I am the future number 1. I am the number 1 ruck for the St Kilda Football Club, and I'm going to lead us into a prelim. So he's got great leadership qualities already, does Rowan Marshall, but he's going to, instead of just, doing what he does most weeks when Paddy Ryder's there, he's going to have to really take this game by the horns and just go with it and lead from the front and be another midfielder. When the ball's hit the ground, Rowan Marshall's another mid for us, and that's a huge advantage that we have over other teams as well. Don't forget, this is from Frank, don't forget Battle is a swing player forward and back. Exactly, like I said at the start, versatility can win us this game, and so does speed. So I hope tomorrow we see the Saints take on, we're going to probably turn it over. We have to bear in mind that if we're going to play fast and play risky and want to go at all costs to win the game, we might turn the ball over and it might stuff us up the other way. But if we can get through it more times than not, that will give us the best chance of scoring and the best chance, of winning as well. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. We could go on all day about these changes, about the game, but you can talk about it all you want. But at the end of the day, let's get a good night's sleep Thursday night, wake up for a Friday, and get pumped for a big game day, because it's going to be a huge night on Saints TV. Get the comments ready, get the likes ready, and then obviously the big review after the game. No matter the results, it'll be a big kind of summary of our final series and of the season, and we can kind of celebrate what has been a great season and can get even better, if we get a big win tomorrow against the odds, against the reigning premiers. So until then, guys, have a great Thursday night. Thanks again for watching. There's a bit of time until tomorrow's game, another day to go. So if you haven't listened to the Saints TV podcast, Check it out. Great episode. We talk about last week's game. We preview this week's game, and we answer listener questions. So, great response and over, 1,000 downloads already this week. So keep that coming. And Saints TV merch. If you want to get some merch like that, the Gresh Prince, Dan Butler, King Max, all that stuff, go on Instagram and the shop's there ready to go. So if you want to get some merch, by all means. And then obviously YouTube as well. If you want to rewatch this video, it's going to be on Facebook and YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to YouTube, it would be great if you did that as well. But yeah, until tomorrow night, guys, have a great night and go you mighty Sainers. See ya.